Welcome to Shas Illuminated. Please enjoy the following shir.
I would like to continue to study Chanukah and Yanei Chanukah. We're going to read in Al Anisim every single Shemoneh Esrei, and we're going to describe in benching the Rabbim Bad Ma'atim, the masses in the hands of the few, the Gibayrim, the strong ones, in the hands of Chalashim, the weak ones. And we read about the mismatch and the nace of Hashem, and obviously we're thanking Hashem for the miracle that the Ma'atim beat the Rabbim, that the Chalashim beat the Gibayrim. And it's the ultimate shock story that the few and many are going to speak about, and rightfully, the power of the Yachid, the ability to overcome odds, to do what looks like impossible, but the word anes, a miracle above nature, and many will speak and proper shmuzim about the power of a little. We said yesterday, ma'at min ha'or doicha har b'chayshech. We argued, so to speak, that's not the whole story, but the power of the few. And you'll hear many speeches connected to Chanukah, and excellent. That's a rightful conclusion. I want to share something different, but it's not a cute vert, a truth that I want everybody here to tap into in your life. And I want to tap, more than all of you, I want to tap into this. I need to share something with you. It's funny, today, anybody who follows sports, and it took me so many years to chap this, there's a new angle to sports. If you ever go to the lounge, the experience changed. It's hysterical. Like, you're watching a game, and the week the Giants are playing the Eagles, and you're a Giant fan, Eagles fan, there's a certain chill. The whole chill changed. In the middle of the game, like some backup receiver got a catch, and the guy's like, woo! I said, aren't you a Giant fan? Like a Phillies He's like, what do you mean? I have that guy in my fantasy team. The whole thing changed with silly betting. I don't like betting at all. The whole fanhood is so upside down. If the guys know, I don't watch games, Baruch Hashem, not very into that. And I typically, if I listen in the car, I'll listen to a game. And anybody who's following a game, there's so many statistics now. They even have percentage of winning. 60, a Met game starts, the game starts 50-50. By the third inning, they have like a 30% chance of winning. By the sixth inning, it's like a 2%. By the ninth, it's like 99% they're losing. What is all these statistics and odds? It all is shirish in gambling. It has to do with bets. And they're always giving you odds to the game. In all sports, one big play, their odds like flip. I don't know how reliable, how real all this stuff is. In 1 second, their odds of winning are certain odds. It flips and their odds go down and up and move. It's like wild stuff how it works, statistics. But the obvious reason they're giving statistics has a lot to do with gambling. The reality of the story of Chanukah is the Rabbim lose to the Ma'atim, and the Gibayrim lose to the Chalashim, and it looks like the story of the against the odds, the small, the few win against the odds. And any speech, any chizuk of defying odds, of not worrying about odds, is something, and the power of the Yachid is in bounds to speak about. I'd like to focus on a nekuda that's just the truth that I'd like to focus on. This week's parsha that will Be'ez Hashem be together is Parshas Vayeshev. The parsha that we're going to lay in Shabbos Chanukah that we're not going to be Zeicher to be together is Miketz. And I want to share something on Parshas Miketz that is Shabbos Chanukah's Miketz. And it turns out yearly Shabbos Chanukah's Miketz. And I want to share with you a Rashi, Chumash Rashi, that I would like to study together and grab onto something. All of us know that Paroi has a dream. He has actually two dreams. He first dreams, in his first dream, just as a reminder, in Parshas Miketz, Paroi's first dream is from the Nile comes Sheva Parois Yifais Mara, 7 good-looking cows. They're very healthy, they're Briais Basar. And then 7 cows come up after that are Rois Mara, very bad looking, Dakais Basar, very sickly, they're not very strong. And amazingly, the weak cows eat up the good cows. Vayikatz Paroi, and Paroi wakes up. So dream number 1 is Paroi sees 7 Zaftika cows, impressive, good-looking cows, 7 very weak and skinny cows, not very healthy cows, and the unhealthy cows eat up the healthy cows. Vayikatz Paroi, Paroi wakes up. Then Vayishan, he sleeps. Vayachlem Shemus, he has a second dream. In the second dream, he sees stalks, very good-looking stalks. He sees stalks that are briyais v'toivais, healthy and good. And he sees then 7 very weak, sickly-looking stalks that are very shtufais, kadim saimchais achreim. Sprouts up after very sickly-looking stalks. And again, the weak stalks swallow up the better stalks. Vayikatz Paroi, Paroi wakes up from his second dream. V'hinei chaloim, and behold, it was a dream. That's the 2 dreams of Paroi. Paroi takes Yosef HaTzadik out of jail, and he said, I heard about you, that you're not to be peiser chaloimus. Vayikrel Yosef Vayiritzu min habar. He brings him out of the bar. He rushes him out of the pit, and Vayayer Paral Yosef Chaloim Chalamti. I had a dream. Upaiser ein oisai. I have nobody to interpret the dream. Vani shamati yalacha. They say about you, I have heard concerning you. Leimar tishma chalaim. You hear a dream. Lifter I say to interpret it. Very cool lashon. He doesn't say, I hear you interpret dreams. I hear you hear dreams to interpret it. Which a simple pshat is you know how to listen well. You hear dreams to interpret it. You have a very keen understanding. And I hear about you, tishma chaloim. You hear dreams well, lifter isam to interpret them. You have a tremendous power of understanding, and you really understand dreams to interpret. I heard you're incredible at this, so I'd like to share with you my dream. That's what Paroi tells Yosef. Yosef has a keen ability to interpret dreams. That he hears them well, he hears what's being said to interpret it. Vayan Yosef of Paroi Lemer. We'll discuss in a little bit Yosef's answer. Yosef's biladai. It's not me. Incredible words, biladai. Very powerful word. Because every gain is that you're a tremendous kayach. That Yosef, you have an amazing ability. I hear you're very discerning. You hear a dream well. And he's getting out of jail. This is his get out of jail card. You're getting out of jail to interpret Paro's dream. And Yosef HaTzadik remarkably responds, Biladai, it's not me. Biladai, besides for me. This is not about me. You're saying I have such a kayach. I heard you're an amazing, discerning person. You're able, tishma chalon, you hear dreams, lifter isam. You have this kayach. And he says, I don't know about my kayachas. I don't know about that. Elokim yanesh shloim Paroi. And he says that Hashem will answer the dream of Paroi. It could be Hashem will tell me it's not my kayach. Biladai, he doesn't take credit for the strength. Paroi then tells him his dream. And Yosef HaTzadik interprets the 7 bad years in Egypt. He describes the fat cows and the good-looking stalks as 7 very good years. There are going to be 7 years in Mitzrayim. There's going to be tremendous economy. Things are going to be great and robust, the economy. And then the bad years are going to swallow up the good years. There's going to be 7 years of tremendous famine, very, very bad down years in Mitzrayim. That's what Yosef HaTzadik interprets. He then tells Paroi, V'ata, an advice, Yeroeh Paroi yishnava mechacham. Paroi should appoint a very smart man, a navain, a discerning person, and a chacham. V'yishisei ol Eretz Mitzrayim. He gives him advice, you should get like a leader from Mitzrayim. During the years of plenty, he'll store away, and he'll have for the years of famine. So get a navam v'chacham, that in the years of plenty, he'll know how to deal with the plenty, store away for the years of difficulty. So find a navam v'chacham. Now, it's a little insulting to Paroi. You realize you get your head chopped off. You don't tell Paroi, appoint somebody else to run Mitzrayim. There's not like democracies. You walk up to a Paroi, people lose their head for a lot lesser things. The Mefarshim asked, Yosef HaTzadik was asked to interpret Paro's dream. He was not asked to give any advice, let alone advice that is like literally a Mered B'Malchus. You literally is a Merida, it's a rebellion, to tell Paro, I think you should appoint somebody else to run the country, somebody who's smart. A Navam V'Chacham, you lose your head for this, and the Mefarshim ask that what was Yosef HaTzadik's right to tell Parai advice? He was asked to interpret a dream, nothing more, nothing less. Tell Parai years of famine, years of plenty, and during the years of plenty, you got to prepare. Yosef HaTzadik said, I think, he tells him, Va'ata, Yeirah Parai Yishnav V'Chacham Yisrael Mitzrayim, appoint a leader on Mitzrayim, not Parai. So, what the Be'er Yosef brilliantly says, a pshat, that l'chayr is like, it looks karev el emes, the pshat that the Be'er Yosef says, he says that it must be that was part of the interpretation of the dream. It's not the Be'er Yosef's chiddush, the Rishonim already say, and the pashtus is Yosef was just asked to interpret the dream, that he did no more than interpret the dream. And what the Rishonim, what the Be'er Yosef explains is that he was interpreting the dream. Now, where in the dream, we know good years, bad years, the bad years swallow up the good years. Where in the dream do you see to appoint somebody, a Navam V'Chacham on top of Mitzrayim? Says the Be'er Yosef brilliantly, if you hear the dream, he has dream one, and then he wakes up. The 7 fat cows, the 7 skinny cows, the skinny cows eat the fat cows, Vayikatz Pari wakes up. Then it says, Vayishan, he falls asleep, Vayachlem Shenis, he has a second dream. Excellent. The second dream is 7 Geshmaka stalks, 7 weak and sickly stalks, and the weak and ugly stalks, the underdeveloped stalks, eat the strong stalks. At the end of the second dream, it says, Vayikatz Pari, Pari wakes up. V'hinei chaloim, behold, it was a dream. Those 2 words, hinei chaloim, are entirely extra, because it said, Vayishan, he slept, Vayachloim shenis, he had a second dream. So then say, he woke up from the second dream. Why in the world does it say, V'hinei chaloim, lo and behold, it was a dream? It said he dreamt. Dream 1, Vayibikei shasayim, paroi choylem, he has a dream, it says the dream. After dream 1, it just says he woke up. Doesn't say, behold, it was a dream. There's no reason to write that. Parai slept and had a dream. And then he woke up. Dream 2, Parai slept, Vayisham Vayachloim Shenis, Vayikas, when he wakes up. After the second dream, it says, Hinei Chaloim, lo and behold, it was a dream. Says the Be'er Yosef brilliantly, that lo and behold, it was a dream. The whole thing was a dream. He never woke up in middle. When it says in middle that Parai woke up, Vayikatz Par Vayishan Vayachloim Shenis, that was part of the dream. You ever dreamt that you dreamed? This was a dream that he dreamt. In middle of the dream, it's Vayikatz Paroi Vayishan Vayachloim Shenis was all in his dream. He woke up and had a second dream, but that V'hinei Chaloim, it was a dream. Now, I don't know. I say Karev to Pshat. I don't mind if anybody's skeptical. It's not Mochrach. It is, his diuk is very strong that the second time it says V'hinei Chaloim, the Be'er Yosef wants to tell you that he dreamt that he woke up and fell back asleep. The interpretation of that, now he needs to interpret the whole dream. Why in Parai's dream does he wake up and fall back asleep? Says Yosef HaTzadik, the interpretation is that you've recused yourself. If you're dreaming in your dream, means remove yourself, appoint somebody else to run Mitzrayim. That's the interpretation why you fell asleep. You fell asleep is the suggestion that you're removed. That's the interpretation. It fascinates, it's interesting to me that that's the second dream. The first dream, he doesn't dream that he's dreaming. In the second dream, why that's the second time, somehow means there's another approach here, a winning approach. And the winning approach is you should fall asleep. Says Yosef HaTzadik, Yeirah Pari Ish Navam V'Chacham, appoint somebody, V'Shisei L'Eretz Mitzrayim. That's the interpretation of the dream. You're supposed to fall asleep, means you're supposed to be removed from the action. That's why you dreamt that you're dreaming, and you dreamt that you fell asleep. It means you're supposed to fall asleep. It means appoint somebody to run Mitzrayim. brilliant pshat in the Ber Yosef. It could be. It could be that's pshat. I don't know. Clearly, you have to find there are other pshatim why he was interpreting. It can't be he was giving advice. He wasn't asked to give advice. To give advice like this, you lose your head. To tell Parai, I think you should appoint somebody else to run Mitzrayim. That's punishable by the death sentence. Clearly, he was interpreting the dream. This is the Ber Yosef's pshat, how he saw it in the dream. So he says to Para, you need a Navam v'chacham, a very discerning man, and appoint him to run Mitzrayim. Like we said, you're recusing yourself, you're taking yourself out of the equation. So then put in somebody. Says Para, he responds, Para says to Yosef, after Yosef interprets the dream, and tells him that he has to remove himself and find somebody to run Mitzrayim. Vayomer Pari el Yosef. Pari says to Yosef, Achrei idea lekim eischas kol zeis. Now that God told you all of this, einavam v'chacham kamaycha. The simple translation is einavam v'chacham kamaycha. Nobody's as smart as you. God interpreted your dream. Einavam v'chacham kamaycha. There's nobody as smart as you. That's the simple translation. The kasha I would ask is smart. Hashem, he said, Alikim Yanesh Shloim Pari. And Pari acknowledges, Achrei idea Alikim Eischas Kol Zayv. God taught you all this. Einavam v'chacham. What's the brilliance? God told him the interpretation. Now you could say all chachmas from Hashem, but navain, the ability to discern. Now you could say also Hashem told him means he has such a koyach. Rashi says, Achri ideally kim eischas kol zeis. The pasuk says, now that God taught this to you, there is no Navam v'chacham like you. Simple pshat is you're the best Navam v'chacham I know of. That would be the simple pshat. A Navam v'chacham k'maycha. There is no Navam v'chacham like you. I would not have a tain on anybody here who would learn that now that God tells you, you're so chachmas from Hashem, atachayin in ladam das, even discernment, even your ability is all from Hashem. So he's saying, wow, you have such chachma from Hashem, a navam v'chacham k'maycha, nobody's a navam v'chacham like you. If somebody would learn that pshat, I could accept it. Listen to Rashi. Listen to Rashi on the spot. The pasuk says there's no navam v'chacham like you. Says Rashi, Levakesh navam v'chish ein navam v'chacham k'maycha, says Rashi. Levakesh ish navam v'chacham she'amarta. This that you said to ask for a navam v'chacham lo'nimsa k'maycha. It's not found like you. And my kash is, what is Rashi saying? Anybody reading the psukim, Rashi didn't add, there was no kasha to ask. If you're reading the psukim say, Yosef HaTzadik a few psukim ago, Yeroeh Parish Navam V'chacham. Find a Navam V'chacham and appoint it on Mitzrayim. And Parai says, a Navam V'chacham Kamaycha. You're the one, Yosef. We can't find somebody who's smart and discerning like you're the one. Very simple. What's Rashi saying? Levakish navam v'chacham she'amarta. Like in case you forgot that four psukim, it's four psukim before. What's Rashi addressing? A navam v'chacham kamaycha. Says Rashi, this that you said levakish navam v'chacham she'amarta a nimsa kamaycha. If you read the psukim, he said to find navam v'chacham, and Parai responds a navam v'chacham kamaycha. So what's Rashi addressing? You said. Is Pshat and Rashi, my father taught me Pshat and Rashi. When my father taught me in Pshat, and L'chair is the Pshat and Rashi, is that he's not saying, you said to look for a Navam V'chacham, Lo'nimsa Kamaycha. He's saying, Levakesh Navam V'chacham Shamarta, you said to look for a Navam V'chacham, Lo'nimsa Kamaycha, why would I want a Navam V'chacham? I want a guy like you. The translation, a Navam V'chacham Kamaycha, is not, you're the best Navam V'chacham. You're neither a Navai nor a Chacham. You're Stamas Ish Eloikim. Hanimsa Kazeh Ish Ruach Eloikim Bai. Parai says, did you ever see a person who's a Ruach Ish Eloikim? Is a person of God? So he says a Navam V'chacham Kamaycha does not mean that there's no Navam V'chacham like you. It means a Navam V'chacham doesn't match up to you. A Navam v'chacham k'moicha, Navam v'chacham is not like you. Not that you're the biggest Navam v'chacham, you're better than a Navam. I don't need a Navam, I don't need a chacham, I want you. You're an Ish Elokim, you're a God-fearing person. I'd much rather you than a Navam v'chacham. That is what he's saying. You're saying to run Mitzrayim, get a brilliant person. I see by you sincerity, authenticity, plugged into Hashem. Hanimsa kazesh is Ruach Elokim by. You're a person of Ruach Elokim. I want a guy like you. And that is what Parai is saying. I want a Ruach Elokim by. A guy who responds Bila Dai, it's not me. Elokim Yana Shloim Parai, I'm plugged into Hashem. Chachma comes from Hashem, that's a person I want. I could say in my life, my wife and I asked the Yid Rav Shlomo Gissinger many serious shaylas in our life. And I can say that there were people that were more brilliant. He was a brilliant man, really a smart man. But I could say there were people that could have asked, brilliant, not that he wasn't brilliant, because he was. But I could find somebody more geniusy, and if you're asking the shaylas that your life depends on, so maybe ask like somebody you get as a higher IQ. Ask a higher IQ person, though he was a high IQ person. But maybe even get like a little more geniusy. Your life depends on this. And to me, it's pashut that the one you trust and want is Yerei Shemayim, is plugged in with an authentic person. Who's plugged into Yerei Shemayim. Any day of the week, if my life depended on it, I would quicker ask and trust and appreciate the advice and the psak. In advice and psak, somebody who's plugged in to Yerei Shemayim, to awareness of Hashem, somebody who's answering from a place of Yerei Shemayim, any day we would trust. And Parai says that much more than the Navan and the Chacham, the brilliant mind, the discerning person, is a person like you, who's an Ish Asher Ruach Elokim by. A Navam v'Chacham does not match up to you. When we think about the battle of the Yavanim, let me get a second. When we talk about the battle of Yavan, and we talk about the battle against Klal Yisrael, it describes Lashkichim Torah. What they want is to make us forget Torah. The Yid is the one who's plugged in to Das Hashem. And Lahavira Mechukei Ritzainecha. Yavana Rasha wants to make us forget Torah and to make us forget Chukei Ritzainecha, the Chukim that are Hashem's will. The people that are plugged into Hashem's Chachma. There's Yavan who has the Chachma and the wisdom of man. The Ramban describes in Chumash that Aristotle v'Chaverav, he says, Aristotle and his friends, and he describes that what they understood, only the power up to what they understood, what made sense to them, they were plugged in very much to limited human chachma. And that's what they believed, nothing more. They were very limited by human chachma. And they fought against the people who are plugged into Chachmas Hashem. And in the battle, they want us to forget Torah and to remove us from Chukei Ritzainecha, which is the person, this is Hashem's will, I don't understand, Chukei Ritzainecha. And this pasuk that we read every year, Shabbos Chanukah, where Parai announces that a Navam v'Chacham doesn't match up to a person of Ruach Elokim by, somebody who's plugged into Hashem. With sincerity, what does Hashem want? What does Hashem hold about this topic? And that outdoes the Chacham. That outdoes the human mind. The human mind is powerful and wonderful. But there's something more and deeper and something else we can plug into. And Parai announces a Navim Chacham Kamaycha. When he experiences Yosef HaTzadik, he experiences the Yid, and he says, a Navim Chacham does not match up to you, who's an Ish Elokim. And this is what, this Nekuda, when we discuss the Rabbim Bad Ma'atim, and the Gibarim B'Yad Chalashim, certainly one could say it's the story of the underdog. What we simply want to learn from here is the power of somebody being plugged in to Hashem, to Ratzon Hashem, and the power of somebody plugged in. We say in the Halukas, I want two halukas. We describe in haluka loive gvuras asus yechbatz. Hashem doesn't choose in the gvuras asus. It's true there's a world of the strength of horses. There's the world of gibayrim, very strong people. There's a world of ishtadlus. That's a truth. When it says Hashem doesn't want the gvuras asus, there's something called gvuras asus, the strength of a horse. There's a truth to the strength of a horse. And it matters. We all live in the world of gvuras asus. We do ishtadlus. So whenever we say Hashem doesn't want gvuras asus, there's something called gvuras asus. Anybody who's I work for a livelihood and I get paid for working. That's gvuras asus. And there's a truth to gvuras asus. In any war, all the ishtadlus we do is the strength of the horse. And there's a reality of gvuras asus. But Hashem doesn't choose in that. Loive gvuras asus yechbatz. Hashem's desire is chayfetz, is not in gvuras asus. We do gvuras asus. All the ishtadlus we do, there's a world of gvuras asus. But ultimately, Hashem doesn't want the strength of man. There's something called Sheikeya Ish. It's a reality. We don't claim that it doesn't exist, strength of man. We don't claim it doesn't exist, Gvuras Asus. But ultimately, we recognize that Reitz Hashem is Yireyev. What Hashem has a ratzain for is the people that are aware of Him, those that are fear Him, as Hamiyachlim L'chastai, those that hope for the Chesed Hashem. The most powerful thing in the world, stronger than Gvuras Asus. This is a basic belief of us. We don't see the Ma'atim as an underdog. In a world that's only about Gvuras Asus, so the Ma'atim, it's a shaker when the Ma'atim win. In a world that knows, by the way, the Chashmonaim did a shtadlus. They thought through, there's such a thing called Gvuras Asus. And people who live in the world where what Hashem wants is Gvuras Asus, so then it matters, the statistics. But people who live with an awareness, people who plug into Chesed Hashem, the Yosef Atzadik who Shem Shamayim Mishagar B'fiv, it doesn't shock us that Einavim V'chacham Kamaycha. It doesn't shock us that all the other forces out there, he becomes the head of Mitzrayim. And he overpowers all the other forces in Egypt. Einavim V'chacham. All the people limited, but in this world with Navan and Chacham, all of that falls, does not equal a Navim V'chacham Kamaycha, does not equal the man Asheruach Elokim Bai, who's attached to Hashem, who Shem Shamayim is Shagar B'fiv. This is a pashtus to us. We say in the first halukah, we describe about al tivtuchu b'ndivim. Don't trust in giving people. B'ven adam she'en lo yeshua. In a human being who doesn't have the koyach of salvation. There are many nedivim, generous people, wonderful people that we can rely on, and there's such a thing, there's a koyach to that. But that ultimately, teitze ruchay, the person dies, yashav ladmaseh, they go back to earth. On that day, all their plans go. When you rely on Nedivim, it's very, very, very temporary, and there's only so much they can do. Ashrei, fortunate, Shekel Yaakov Bezrei, is the person who relies on Hashem. Sivrei is hope, al Hashem Aleikav. And just very, very simple in the Chanukah story, this Nekuda, that we're people who have a Torah, who have Torah's Hashem. We have people who have Chachmas Hashem. We have people who Shem Shamayim Mishagar B'finu. We're people who rely on Hashem and have a Yirah Shamayim. Our awareness of that strength and that power of the one who's connected to Hashem has to be part of the story to us. So it's true in the eyes of the world, it's Rabin Bad Matam. In the world, in the eyes of the world, it's the Rabbim Bad Matim. It's the many. In the eyes of the world, it's Rabbim Bad Matim. It's the many falling in the hands of the few. In the eyes of the world, it's Gibarim Biad Chalashim. It's the strong falling in the hands of the weak. And certainly, the world would handicap this as a great upset. and an unusual occurrence, and we're allowed to see it as such. We also would see a massive army fall to a few. It's a massive upset. I'm not trying to, we're all human, and we would see it as an upset. You and I see it as an upset. But I want to study the upset and the understanding and the tremendous, tremendous power of the one plugged in to Hashem, plugged into Yer Shemayim, is the takeaway to us all. The source of this upset is the ma'atim that are plugged in, that are very, very plugged in. It's Kel Yaakov Be'ezrei. They rely on Hashem and are beteach in Hashem. They have faith in Hashem. They trust in Hashem. Amiyachelim l'chastei. Those that are miyachel, that have hope for the chesed Hashem. So then it's a game changer. Everything's different. Those people are not geiris, the strong forces. They're not geiris, the odds. There's something they're relying on. No navam v'chacham. All the external powers don't match up to the Ruach Elokim Bay. So I wanted to share this simple understanding, and in our own lives, that force of the person who's plugged into Hashem, who's plugged into Ratzon Hashem, that it beats odds. It overcomes statistics. It overcomes many, many things that look so fierce and ferocious because it's plugged in. Hashem wants this. It's plugged into something more. Hashem wants those that are miyachlim l'chastei, those that hope and hope for His Chesed Hashem, are reliant on Chesed Hashem. That power of that overpowers other things. I wanted to share this with the Chevra. I want to continue on. I do want to make sure we have a Chevra that has to get to New York. Do we need a second car going? And what do we have? Can we leave in 5 minutes? There's so many times, in a very, very practical way, there's so many times in our life that we'll face all different things that seem large and strong, that will qualify as Gibayrim, will qualify as the Rabbim, and will face many, many things. I think that we study what we believe is the most powerful, that what we think we don't consider an upset. To us, it's not the story of the Rabbim, certainly, and there's a part of us that will see it that way. But the story of Gibayrim B'yad Chalashim, the story of Rabbim B'yad Ma'atim doesn't amaze us. It doesn't amaze us. We chazer it. We chazer it every year, Chanukah, and it's certainly a nace. The pirush of a nace is that it's Me'ez Hashem Oisazos, that the Rabbeinu Shalom, that people are miyachel l'chasta is more powerful than all forces. That belief, that plugging in, that all of us can practically see in our own lives, and can gain a tremendous, tremendous chizuk. There'll be many things in our life that will look very, very big and overwhelming, and will look like things that will topple many idealisms of our life, things that are overwhelming. But the people that are miyachel l'chastei, that have a certain faith and an emunah, we would be shocked in how many areas. I'm going to give one area. It's for whatever reason on my mind. Even in the area looking for a shidduch, in so many areas that in a practical way, faith and doing what I have to do, doing my chiyuv, and throwing to Hashem and having real emunah that Hashem runs the world. I'm thinking for some reason shidduchim's on my mind. And in the world of shidduch, if anybody's honest, the chances of finding a shidduch are ridiculous. It's overwhelming. Anybody who lives in a world of gvura sasus, you're out of your mind. You're finding your shidduch. You're finding your soulmate. You serious? You're crazy. If you think about it honestly, come from a secular world, you're out of your mind. You're finding your shidduch. Really? The right one, the one, whatever perspective you come for, whatever perspective you come from, it's daunting. It's something that, what? I'm finding my, think about any guy in yeshiva says, I'm going out, I'm looking for my basher. However he views, he's finding the one. What does that mean? What are you saying even? The words are wild to say. In a world of gvura sasus, good luck. What does that mean? Are you going to go? It says by Adam Arishan, Shem brought him to every single animal in the world and looked, is this? What does it mean? I'm looking for my zivug. So you have to line up every single girl in the world. You'd have to meet. Every Jewish girl. You're not a guy is not shaykh to zivug. Maybe she should be megayer. I don't know. You're assuming every yid you have to check every. What does that mean? You're a mishuggin. I'm looking for my shidduch. If anybody's honest and being real, you're out of your mind. In a world of gvura sasus, and there's a shtadlus, and there is a world of gvura sasus. But being honest, if you think about it, it's completely overwhelming. There are things we choose not to think about. If a person thinks about it, he's looking and he's going around, he's going to go and be mevar and figure out, is she it? Is she mishuggin? You're crazy. There's no shot. I don't know. It's not a possibility. In an honest way, Ze'ef the answer to the question, the real answer is that we live in a world of Hamiyachlam L'chasta. We live in that world, very real. We live in a world that it's not a shocker to us, Kibarim B'yad Chalashim, Rabin B'ad Ma'atim, in a very practical sense. Our belief is emunah, is tremendous emunah. There is something called Gvuras Asos, that's called the world of Ishtadlus. There's something called the rabbim. There's something called an army. There's davar kazeh. There's something that Hashem created, such mitzius. But what we live in and what Hashem chooses, what the most powerful force in the world, that which is the strongest, that which Hashem desires the most, that which He chooses is faith. And the faith of anybody living, the faith of any single human being, is that I'm going to do my chiyuvim. And Hashem will have, somebody will come up to me, somebody will read a shidduch, and I'm going to do everything I can to be mevar. I'll do everything in my kayach. It will be read. I'm not getting involved how much Gvuras Asos, how many Shadchanim. There's something called Gvuras Asos. What ultimately wins out, what ultimately has the kayach, Hashem's rights, and those that are miyachel l'chastoi, those that understand chesed Hashem, and understand the Yad Hashem, and are beteach, and lean, and rely on Chesed Hashem. I think anybody in that realm, and this is true in every realm of our life, that the person that's miyachel l'chastoi, that actively understands and sleeps easier because of it, I'm relying on Hashem. And Be'ez Hashem, then I do my chiyuvim. I do the ma'atim, they make an army, they fight, the person goes out, makes the berurim they need to do. But ultimately, as a miyachel l'chastai, that's what wins out. That's in a very practical way, the story of Chanukah. It's a story that amidst a world that, and this is Galus. Galus is a world of Gevuras Asos, Shaykei Ya'ish. It's a world that's what is in the world. That's what exists. And the Chayshech of Yavan, specifically the Galus Yavan, is dominated by Shaykei Ya'ish. That's very real. There's a lot of muscle. And Gvuras Asus, the sus is very powerful, and Hashem gave it a koyach. And we ourselves know about the koyach of Gvuras Asus. We date, we figure out, we go to Shatchanim. It's so complicated. There's Gvuras Asus and there's Shoykei Ya'ish. And the Golus Yavan is dominated by a world that's complete reliance and belief in Gvuras Asus and Shoykei. That's the Chayshech of Golus, of Yavan, specifically of Yavan, that wants Lashkichim Tarasecha, to remove Chukei Ritzainecha from the strengths that are out of Gvuras Asus, that are this other strength, the Miyachel and Lechastei world, the people that are Miyachel Lechesed Hashem, that say Biladai, there's something deeper and stronger than me. I have limitations, there's something deeper and stronger. I have spoken at, and Chachma is very, very big. Fives in the Enneagram, who are big, very cerebral people, struggle with nihilism. They struggle with doubt. Am I real? Are you real? We both real. They're limited and they want to be safe. Only Chachma, like, that's anything beyond. There's a world beyond. There's a world beyond. There's something called Torah. There's something called Chukei Ritzainecha. And Yavan wants us to stop only Shoykei Ya'ish. And we are people that plug into something more. There's faith in Hashem that we believe in, and we believe that's the strongest force in the world. The Ma'atim that are plugged into Hashem, they're Miyachel L'chastei. It is not a shock to us when they win. It's not a shock. It beats Gvura, and it beats the Rabbim. And this is something, a belief in ours, in the power. It's just that certainly there's a chitzoniistic view of Rambad Matim, and we say it, and there's a chitzoniistic view of Gebarim B'yad Chalashim. But the answer to the question, so what's Pshatak and the Ma'atim win, is they're plugged in, they're Miyachel L'chastei, they're Beitchem B'Hashem. And that is a stronger force than the forces of the world. The faith in Hashem, the belief that there's a Rabbeinu Shalom, and the trusting in the Chesed Hashem is a stronger force than all the other things that seem to threaten and stop. This is I was reading from Reb Yerucham, and he was writing from Reb Dan Segel. This is something that Reb Dan Segel was pounding on Chanukah, specifically on Chanukah, is to see the Yad Hashem, the Nes, the Lamalim and Ateva, to see out of just the Teva's the world of Gvuras Asus. That's reality and exists. But to see Nes, to see a world deeper, to enter into a world of Nes. The world of Nes, and we call it a miracle because there's a force called Gvuras Asus. So that's what a miracle means. A miracle means something. And when we enter Chanukah, world of Nes, what I want to say to the Chevra, you can live in a world of Nes. You can live in a world of Nes. A Nes is not an occurrence. And Chanukah brings us into a world of Nes. Chanukah says to a person, it's the Ar Mitaych the Chayshech, it says to a person, enter a world of Nes. The world is a world that will just see Gvuras Asus. You'll see this in your lives, in all different things, and you'll get overwhelmed by Gvuras Asus. You'll get overwhelmed by Shoykei Ya'ish. You'll see very strong muscles in anything you're trying to accomplish. And you'll get overwhelmed by Shoykei Ya'ish, by strong muscles. Always take a tremendous strength that there's a world called Nes. There's a reality called Nes. And the Nes of Chanukah, this Yontiv, that's the Yontiv of Nes. Ezen Nes. Yosef said, Shabbos, what Nes was the Yontiv created? There's a world of Nesim. There's a world of Nes. The world of Nes. All the Yom Tovim, and it asks on Yontiv, like, Ezen Nes. What Nes was, who said there has to be a miracle? Like Yontiv, maybe there's no Nes. A Nes is not an occurrence like, there's something. A Nes is a force and a truth, that there's something deeper than Teva. Nes is to be Oimid, is higher than Teva, is a deeper power, something stronger, something more. Chanukah is the possibility to enter a world of Nes. When you plug into Chanukah, you're saying that I understand this. You're plugging into a world of Nes, that there's a world of plugging into, that Hashem and those that are Miyachel L'chastei is stronger than the Teva, is stronger than the nature. We can plug into this in our Shidduchim. We can plug into this in all different areas of success in our own life, that we're plugging in to something stronger and something higher. I don't pass. I was called by a mother 2 weeks ago, and it's on my mind. She was very nervous about her son's parnasa. And it hit me very stark, and I care about his parnasa. And she's right, there's a world of Gvuras Asus. And it's a world that we're misyachas to and supposed to be misyachas to. There's something called Ishtadlus. And certainly he has to ask himself, what's the proper Ishtadlus? So I was thinking, it got me thinking, a sugya that all of us try to figure out in our own life. We have to do effort, and we live in a world. Should he just drop everything and go to college? Should he? And there are many shilas and real shilas that I don't know the answer. But I think the way I see it, and again, it doesn't answer up how much ishtadlus, but that ultimately he's plugged in. No matter how much ishtadlus, the main question he should have is to try to do the right thing. He should ask himself, what's Ratzon Hashem? And I don't know the answer, how much, but ultimately the idea, and it will affect how much Gvuras Asos he does. The ultimate idea that there's a world called Nes, and that world's a reality. Hashem runs the world. That ultimate idea will definitely give kayach to such a person to learn longer, to say, okay, there's a world of ishtadlus, there's something called Gvuras Asos, and something Hashem made in the world. But ultimately what wins is miyachal and mechastai. If his shore will affect, it will give him a kayach to maybe even push a little harder, learn another year. It will give a kayach. It doesn't answer the shaila of how much ishtadlus. This is a shaila that all of us grapple with, a very, very real shaila in our life. Even the ma'atim fight. The Ma'atim won a war. There was a war that they won with battle plans and all, but it can be done with Ma'atim. It can be done with Ma'atim because they're plugged into something deeper. Because Leivi Sheike Ish Hashem Yirtza. Hashem doesn't choose ultimately that. Esamiyachul Mechasta is what he chose. So I wanted in our ascent into Chanukah, Rav Dan Segel focused a lot on this point in our own celebration of the Chag. We're entering a realm of Nes. It's a place that we're not just celebrating a Nes that was, it's a world of Nes, a world that we know deeper than Teva, deeper than the nature. There's Hashem who controls nature, who runs things, and we're Baiteach. We rely and trust in Hashem, and we're actually capable of living in that world of Nes, and staying in that realm of Nes, that there's a Lamalam and a Teva, there's Hashem who runs things, and that's what we rely on. That's where we put our faith. And then we could see many obstacles, many strengths that fall by the wayside to the Ma'atim that are living there. That's what I wanted to share with the Chevra. Let's go to second Seder, Rabbi Seh.
You have been listening to a shiur from shasilluminated.org. For other shiurim on many topics, or to hear an Iyun shiur on any daf in Shas, including Mara Mekaymas on each shiur, please visit www.shasilluminated.org. To order CDs or for more information, please call 203-312-SHAS. That's 203-312-7427, or email info@shasilluminated.org.